we haven't made covenants, most of us. We don't know what a covenant is. Really, I think the only remnant of covenant in our society is marriage. And now even that is degenerating to where the concept of marriage for many, many people is much more like a contract than it is a covenant. And so we don't really have hardly any valid pictures of what a covenant is in our culture. Now, Middle Eastern people understand this better. Primitive, tribal types of people, what we call primitive people, understand this better because they're in recent generations, as recent as maybe their grandparents or great-grandparents, people in those generations actually practiced covenants. But today, I want to look at a very special covenant, a particular covenant that's critical, that helps us to understand our relationship with God. And this is the threshold covenant. The concept is this. Among Middle Eastern people and in Jesus' time, in Bible times, the concept was this. The threshold of a man's home, the threshold of his dwelling, was a sacred place and a division between outside and inside. When you step across the threshold of a man's dwelling, you've entered into a holy type of place. Or what that means is you enter into an implied covenant with the person who lives inside. So when you step across the threshold of a man's dwelling, that man receives you as though you were a member of his own family. That man receives you as a blood brother, so to speak, in his own family. And that's critical to understand that. As a matter of fact, Middle Eastern people understand that quite a bit better than Westerners. We have phrases in the West like, in Spanish we say, mi casa es su casa, my house is your house, or in English we say, make yourself at home. Well, we don't really mean it. Can you imagine what would happen if a guest came to your home and you said, make yourself at home, and the person started moving the furniture around, taking things from the house, and said, well, you said it's mine, I'm going to treat it as if it were my house. And he'd say, well, I didn't really mean that. Do you know, in the Middle East, people mean that. When you step across the threshold of a man's dwelling, there's a hospitality extended to you that we don't really understand in the West. I was visiting some Arab friends of mine one time in Bethany, in near Jerusalem, in the Holy Land. And while I was staying in this Christian Arab couple's home, when I first came, admired a painting that was on the wall. I said, oh, that's beautiful. Where did you get that? And they told me the story of where they had received it and how they had gotten it. And do you know that the next day that painting was taken off the wall and given to me as a gift? I said, no, I didn't want your painting. I was just admiring it. They said, no, we want you to have it. And do you know, in the East, hospitality is totally different. When you step across the threshold of a man's dwelling, it's like you become a member of that family.